Okay, so we've just reviewed paragraph 24 on our own, and we're, well into looking at Yichuda Ilah. And paragraph 24 is really talking about the difference between how the Makabel receives the revelation of Hashem compared to how the Makabel in Biyah receives the revelation of Hashem. He states that clearly in the beginning. So I just want to see if people have questions. I have one or two questions. I'll address to Mila. That's okay, Mila, and then I'll open it up. I'm really just looking at the pshat on some of these translations. So, Mila, I just want to ask you this. It's quite a simple question. When it says now the souls of Bia, they love their fear, and even the level of bitul with them come only from their sensing the divine life force, how he gives life to all the worlds. So here, Hurak mitzad hargashat hachayut, ech shehu mechaye kol halomot to Bia. So when it says chayut, it's talking about the divine life force, or it's talking about chayus as we spoke about earlier. I mean, it's the same thing, but should we really be just thinking of it as the chayus as we were speaking about earlier as the chayus in the body, that mashal? Or it's more general? Mila, you muted.
I think it means both. He's talking about the divine life force, right? Because that's how we learn it. But I think what you mean, maybe you mean that the way he brought it up as a mashal. We're not talking about the mashal yet. Because right now we're literally talking about the divine life force.
Okay. So we can leave it the translation as that.
Yeah.
And here I was wondering, previously we learned about this idea of the aliyah of the soul, that the soul has to be lifted up. What is the Hebrew word that is used for that here? Nasiyat?
Nisiyat nafsham, right. Nasa, it's also elevating. There's aliyah and then being lifting. I think for aliyah, it's, when a person also himself can do it. Right. Nasa, it's more when somebody else elevates it. Maybe, I don't know. That's just my...
do you remember I thought he used aliyah previously, not nasiyat. And I was wondering.
Also, yeah. Yeah, this is Nasa with Aleph, not with Ayin, right? It's not like Nasa as travel.
No.
And so that one is with Ayin. This one is a little bit.
I'm just thinking that he used the word aliyah before, so I'm sure it's the same thing. But it's just curious to me that he would change the wording.
Right. I guess we need to understand the difference between Nasa and Aliyah, in terms of what's the difference.
Okay, I'm really just checking like where this word comes from and how we can understand it. I don't know if we really need to go into that difference. So the main thing here is that in Bia, the souls, they only have access to the level of the Matzil as he is descending towards them. To here, it adds the idea of lachutz, And chutz is the worlds that are created, yesh mi'ayin, which is bia. Okay.
Right.
The thing that I thought that, okay, first we'll open to questions, and then I thought the one thing that maybe you could clarify or speak to a little bit is the idea of bitul hayesh and bitul haratzon, because those are two new terms that really appear here. Do you want to take questions first and then maybe just speak to that?
I mean, bitul hayesh and bitul haratzon. So one is I'm already a yesh. I have something in me. You understand? Meaning I'm already a created being. Okay. I'm already separate. So bitul hayesh is me nullifying or subjugating myself, to higher reality. Okay, that's one understanding. And ratzon, what's ratzon? Is only a desire. Nothing happened yet. Right? So it's more spiritual. Ratzon is more spiritual than yesh in comparison, right? Obviously, when we're going to learn about levels of tzimtzum, right? Ratzon, it's already tzimtzum. I want something. Okay, it's already a tzimtzum. But compared to Atzilus versus Bia, it's still nothing. I just want it. I want to go ice cream. Did I buy ice cream? No. Did I do anything? Did I make any physical movement? Nothing. It's just within me, right? So the ratzon, it's something very internal. It may not even mean I will even think about it. Ratzon is just a desire for something. If I entertain this in my mind, it's going to go through the whole set of hishtalshalos and, we'll end up going to a store and buying it. Okay, but what if I don't do anything with that ratzon? A ratzon comes from my heart to my head, ice cream, and then I'll just push it off and do something totally different. What's that ratzon? Is nothing. So bitul of that ratzon is very different, is more sophisticated, is more refined versus the bitul of the actual yesh. Like, let's say me holding an ice cream. How are you going to mevatel that? Obviously. Well, if you eat it, then it's nowhere to be found, right?
On your hips.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So that's, meaning the way we do bitul, it's going to be bitul hayesh because we're yesh. In Atzilus, it's on the level of ratzon. You understand?
Right. The
Very fine.
level of the yesh is really just the yesh of Atzilus is
the ratzon is a desire. Exactly.
So it actually, in some ways, I find it easier to understand bitul haratzon than bitul hayesh, because I could understand that you give up like your ratzon for something, but yesh, it's not describing something specific. It's everything. Like, how do you do bitul hayesh? That's really.
I guess it's through bitul ratzon.
Well, you're not on the level of bitul ratzon yet. I'm just stating it as a question. I'm not saying it needs to be answered. I think it is the question, and only through the oimek hamusag, from the through the oimek, getting to the oimek of bina, and then shifting over to chachma tzilus. That's the bitul of the yesh, but it's very mysterious how one does that or what that entails. I think you can only experience.
It was in Tanya. You notice that? I mean, Tanya of Begeris Kodesh is unbelievable, right? So the Rebbe says over there, how do you mevatel during davening? By the way, have you noticed how we separate from the Ra? Yeah, I think it was in yesterday's Tanya. I did beyond. It's in Geras 12, right? Where the Rebbe Igeris 11 is profound, isn't it? Yeah? Laschil Chabina. Anybody had a question why it says Lahaschil Chabina? Anybody from Shari Yichud, you should have this question raised, right? Lahaschil Chabina. Lahaskil is a lotion of Chachma. Bina has a lotion of Havana and Hasaga, right? So how is Alter Rebbe saying Lahaskil Chabina? It seems to be like conceptualizing Bina. What's the story? Right? And then what is he talking about it? He's talking about this whole notion that no bad can come from above, right? Which is it's an interesting idea, right? And then he says over there, it's like have a love shavim, like bad and good, like equal for him in terms of his person's reaction. What a level of avodah we're talking about, right? This is like wow. And interestingly, but this is very much where the paradigm shift takes place. He is literally in two words describing the whole paradigm shift. Laskil Chabina, because remember, Omek HaMusag was this a point where the person with his own personal avodah can reach, right? And then at that moment, Chokhmah opens up. It's how it is, not how I understand it, but how it is. Okay. And that's where like, whoa, like you work with what you think, with all your personal faculties, all your experiences to a certain point, and then something greater than you opens up in you. That's the revelation of Chachma. That's where the bitul takes place, because the bitul is not how I understand it, it's how it is. And I start perceiving it how it is. So that's where the expansion takes place. And this is what Laskil Chabina, isn't it? Like, how could it be that a person is having negative experience? How in the world is he going to accept it? Oh, it's all good. It's coming from Hashem. Right? And interestingly, the Rebbe gives specifically through this type of thinking, that's how you nullify. All the way in the end, he says that's how you nullify how you receive it. Do you understand? Meaning, a person is experiencing something which he perceives as something negative. And you know what? It's universally negative, right? It's not like only his, limited perception, like anybody you would go to, meaning from a human perspective, put it this way, it's negative. Okay. It's not only that he perceives it as negative. It's like everybody will say like, yeah, like that's very negative. And through his work of having this bitachon in Hashem, that Hashem sends me only good could come down. He nullifies, meaning he melts that even how he will be perceiving it, it will be good. It will be in a revealed way good. You understand? It's like this phenomenal idea, specifically discussing this is Laskil Bina, because that's where Bina will start conceptualizing. She remains Bina, a person remains in the body, right? And yet she's able to perceive the revelations, how it is in Chachma, how it is supposed to be. Anyway, it's just a profound one. Anyway, the 12 is also very, very interesting because it talks about this notion of this I don't know how to put it in words. Basically, what we're learning here, it's anyway, you'll see in Ageres HaKodesh this this very interesting flow that bits and pieces what we're learning from Shari Yichud all of a sudden will pop in from here and from there. It's very, very interesting.
Okay, so thanks, Mila. Does anybody have questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was reading chapter 24, I got the impression that because of the root of our souls in Atzilus, which is called the Mazal of the soul, I thought that it was explaining how we can actually tune into the essence of the emanator. That's what it seemed to be saying later on. Is that correct, or was I imagining it? And not just the
I
souls
mean,
of
it's
Achilles.
100%, because you see, on one hand, he says we are all rooted, we're all coming from that root. And at the same time, so why is he saying that? Like, if you want to show me on my, not such great level being the Shama of the Biyah, and I'm like this whole Yesh situation, right? Why are you mentioning that we are all actually coming from Atzilus? Like, what's the kavana, right? Because what he wants to tell us, it's in a way an encouragement, because we find ourselves crystallized in the Biyah perception, right? What do you think will give an excitement, an encouragement from the soul perspective to do the Avodah? Like, it's a mission impossible. You understand? Like, how in the world you are supposed to be a subject of Bitul Ayesh only if you are coming from the source of Ayin? Do you understand? So he's in a way, like, let's put it this way. How a person, this notion about why it was possible for Yidden to come out of Mitzrayim. Like, how a generation that was raised as slaves could come out of Mitzrayim. Like, where's the potential for that? Where are they getting? I mean, how is it possible? Right? This famous thing about in India, they tie a humongous elephant on this little nail. And everybody's asking, like, how is that even possible? Like, in 3 seconds, this elephant could just move his leg and, together with a nail and be free. But yet, you see these huge creatures every day in the evening come to the place, and they tie them with this little string into the nail. You saw that? There's an experiment. So what is it? When they were little elephants, very tiny, just newborn elephants, that's how they were trained. They would, take them, they tie their foot to this nail. Now, back then, when they were tiny, that actually helped them not to run away. But as they were growing up, the nail didn't grow up with them. You understand? So the mind of an animal is very different than the mind of a human being. Okay? So they subjected themselves, you understand, when they were little, to how humans treated them. And they remained like that forever, even though they grew huge. Okay? But till today, they are convinced that just when they were little, this little string with this little nail held them, that even now it's holding them. And they're powerless. They lost the power. That's an animal. You understand? So, and they do it throughout all kinds of different animals, right? That's why some animals are clever. That's how they check the level of intelligence by animals. And I think, elephants are quite intelligent animals, but nevertheless, they're animals. Do you understand? Like, a human being can break through that limitation of what his upbringing was. Okay? They're capable of doing it. But animals, they cannot. So why am I saying this to you? What is really, like, how is it possible for the human in the body, right, to do Bitul Ayesh if he is coming from Biyah? It's impossible. Because it's like you are given something, a paradigm. How can you go out of that paradigm? The only reason why you would be able to go out of this paradigm, okay, if your essence is higher than that paradigm. Do you understand? Yeah. So once you are higher than that paradigm, but you are within the paradigm, you could lift yourself out of that space. No life. Okay. So that's why he's mentioning in this paragraph, it's like, hey, it's not only special neshamas, everybody coming from Atzilus. So don't think that I'm on the Shom of Asiya. Who am I? What am I? And blah, blah. No. You have within you from the Pneumius Akelim, every Yid has that connection. And that's the power that gives us to do this Avodah. Otherwise, let's just go home, enjoy the world. This is just a reality. Understand? But it's a reality for that particular moment in order for us to find ayin in it. Right? In the Siddur, every morning we say actually a cute thing. Okay? If it says, Moisar ha'adam min ha'be'ema ayin. What does this mean? It's like literally on the page 16 in our Siddur. Right? Okay, here we go. It's right in the middle on page 16 when we say Ribon Kol Olamim, right? It says Umoiser ha'adam min ha'behema ayin. And there's a few ways of reading it, right? And the difference of the Adam of the human being from the behema ayin, that's what it says. The difference between the Adam and the behema, there's no. That's what Litvish people say, right? There's a true, you should know who you are. There's no difference between you and animal. Like, don't think you're so sophisticated. But Chabad Chassodus brings a totally new insight into this. It says the difference between human and an animal is a state of ayin. Humans, they are created like this. That's what it is. Zamashayesh. In Adam, in the level of Adam, says no. Because he's coming from ayin, we're talking about the state of Atzilus and the worlds above it, right? He's able to take his yesh, nullify it, and bring in a new yesh. That's the capacity of a human being. It's fascinating. That's exactly what this paragraph is talking about. Like, no, okay, you found yourself in a big yesh, no problem. Because you have a source, which is your ayin. You could tap into that source, bring a new insight, a new light into you, and here we go. You're all good. Do you understand? So that's the beauty of this whole paragraph, that it's a human potential to understand human potential, and even beyond the Jewish potential, not just human potential, a Jewish potential.
So if it's saying Bittul Hayesh, then you nullifying your yesh to get another yesh.
Yeah, because the whole point is that you cannot be in an ayin all the time. Remember the idea of Ekye Asher Ekye, remember? Ekye comes from Yesh Amiti, goes through 2 stages of ayin, and then becomes a new yesh, right? Hashem wants us to be yesh. Hashem doesn't want us to dissolve in ayin and become nothing. But he wants us to be a rectified yesh. The idea is that he wants us to kind of replica yesh that's not disconnected in his own perception. It's like the mashal for this, the dugma for this is a mishkan. Did it exist or didn't it exist? You understand? Did it take space or didn't take its space? The whole measurement, how much the mishkan was measured, how much from the wall till the mishkan, and that it's like kind of exists and doesn't exist, right? This is the reality of a Jew. You understand? I exist, but I translate the existence of God. Do you understand what I mean? So it's like this co-creator in a way. So, but wasn't the Mishkan was created from wood? It didn't just appear miraculously like man, for example, right? So man, you could say, yeah, it exists, it doesn't exist, what's going on with it? It was a spiritual type of situation. But Mishkan was actually created with regular wood, and gold. It was a physical thing, and yet it was able to kind of not exist at the same time, not take space as a regular physical object would. So it's like this, so Hashem like this type of things. I am and I'm not at the same time. Opposites are like kind of becoming like, part of Hashem's, plan of who is human being, So it's like Hashem wants us to be yesh, but to be yesh amiti, not yesh nifrad. Yesh nifrad is a separate yesh. That we need to mevatel. But are we supposed to be nobody? No. I want you to be something. I want you to be God. You understand what I mean? Like now, again, I'm very careful with what I'm saying because there are people out there, okay, who take that and walking around and saying, I am Hashem, I am Hashem. You understand? Like that. I'm not, portraying this ideology right now. You understand?
How do you feel?
I was just going to ask,
Silent?
like, do you know anyone who's like that? Like, because, okay, so the Rebbe and maybe tzaddikim, but like normal people, do people
Well,
function like
Hashem
that?
wants us all to be that level. I mean,
And it's
fortunately,
possible.
He has a brighter future for us. He thinks a little bit higher than what we think of ourselves.
But it's possible. It's possible for
It's
us
very
to live like that
practical,
more.
for sure. I mean,
That would be Mashiach, right? So that would be each of
exactly.
us
That's exactly what the
living
Rebbe
with
wants.
Mashiach.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what he wants. He's like, okay, guys, you need to do it. Everything is ready. And we're like, well, we're not sure, like we have our own speakers about it. And okay, Hashem says, no problem. I'll wait. I'm waiting until you fed up with being Yesh Nifrad, and you'll say like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I want that connection, and that's
But
what this paragraph is. What?
it can't be that it's that hard to do it. Like, because if the Rebbe said everyone should be like living with Mashiach, then it can't be that they have to learn Shara Yichud in order to do it.
So it's I guess it's not about what we need to learn. It's about actually getting there. Do you understand? It's it's like when a person has so much trauma of really of really stepping into his own greatness. What are you going to do then? I mean, for 30 years, we're still hesitating. So there got to be something needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the Avodah Samoichin plays, and the Rebbe gives us a solution. He didn't just tell us, okay, guys, you are great, you are tzaddikim, bye for now. We'll see you in the Geula Mitzvah Shlema. The Rebbe didn't say that, right? The Rebbe gave a clear guidance of what needs to be done in order for a person to attain and kind of like, accept a certain reality. And I guess, not I guess, Rebbe said very, very clearly about Avodah Samoichin. He said that's the way to go. This is the Avodah of Geula. Rebbe said that instead of waiting for who knows what, start now. Like, do it now. In the famous Chesmar Cheshvan Sefer. And I guess that's what we, attempting to do, And it's like, it comes in bits and pieces, and it's kind of like, fits in like the little pieces of puzzle. But technically speaking, if that's our Matthias, so you're right, it shouldn't be so hard. And so now the question is like, why is it so hard for us to understand? Because we're talking about very abstract things. It's
Mila, when he was in chapter 1, when we were speaking about the 4 stages of Yesh Nifrad going to Ayin, to the 2 levels of Ayin before you get to Yesh Amiti, he said that first stage of going from Yesh Nifrad to the first level of Ayin takes enormous effort. Because
he even used the kol hatcholis kashes, right? That's what he said. All beginnings are hard. That's what he said.
Right. So, the thing is, like, we don't imagine for a moment that we could just become a doctor without studying for many number of years, or becoming a really good athlete without training very hard. Why why do we have this idea that we should be able to reach spiritual heights, which is like, like Oimeka Musag, without effort?
By the way, it's so funny. Interestingly, I have a son who was like, on a chubby side. Okay. And he didn't like it. So I told him, listen, I'm not a good example. but, I told him, I could tell you, like before I got married, I was, quite skinny. And I told him, listen, but I said, you work out. Took it very seriously, okay? The whole year in the yeshiva, he worked out. He ate protein, he worked out, and all that stuff. When he came back, I mean, this guy was like already 6 foot tall. I guess it just went like that. I have no idea what happened to him. Not me, not my husband. I was 6 foot tall. And that's it. Just, and I remember he used to cry. He used to call me. He's like, oh, this is so hard to work out, blah, blah. I said, that's the only way. I don't know any other ways. Do you know any other ways? No, you want to lose weight. You close your mouth, you eat the right food, you work out. That's it. Just is literally what it is. Is it hard? Yes. But he did it. It took him 1 year. And now he's like, magnificent, gorgeous bacher, out for grabs, nice, great guy, nice looking guy. Okay. Like, okay, that's just what it is. There's no magic formula. Anybody, like I'm telling you, it's just about doing the right thing at the right time, in the right proportion, and you will always get results. It's like, we're trying to fight a structure. But there's, go to any diet, any out there, okay? And me, as somebody who was struggling with my weight, I probably studied like, with Eon and his bonanos, all of them, okay? But the bottom line is about doing. And sure, the first stage, you'll study this. At one point, I came to a conclusion. Whatever is that you're doing, okay? You just need to do it consistently, and you guaranteed to get results. Thousands of people did it. Millions of people did it. So what are you fighting for? It's a simple math. It's literally a very simple math. And no matter what your problem is, this is what you do, this is what you get. It's a cause and effect. So with this is the same thing. It's instead of that's how it works in physicality, right? People study metabolisms for hundreds of years. That's just what the reality is. It's physics. Okay. That's what the same story is here. How it is in physical world, Hashem created spiritual worlds, and he said, that's how you do it. Now, Chagad, that's the whole battle between Chabad and Chagad in Pnimius. Okay, the Alter Rebbe said, what do you mean you could just love Hashem? Well, you could try doing it. Okay, but there's no a true Pnimius Avodah where you own it if you don't use your brain. Now, there are fancy people coming over, oh, I don't want to be too intellectual. I don't want to be this. I think it's all undercover. It's like somebody who's saying, no, this diet is no good. You have to have more fat. You have to have more protein. All this is details. The action. What actions are you taking? Instead of going into all these debates, it's like being in a kachab. Remember? Kachab, Chabad, right? And then there's Chagas, and then there's Nehi, right? There is Chagas Hasidim, but I think the Rebbe brought us down to Nehi Chasidim. Right? Nehi is about actions. Whatever you decide up there, who cares? If you don't do anything about it, you're not getting anywhere.
But Mila, I think that we should move on to paragraph 25, although these are really important things to talk about. Just to say, as Miriam's saying here, not everyone has the same desire to delve into these concepts. I would say not everybody has to study Shara Yichud. it's not right for everybody. There must be other ways to do Bitul Hayesh. But this is, once you choosing this path, then the yigir, the effort is part of breaking the yesh. And
I'll tell you what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay,
Good.
we had these discussions. Yes, the truth. Okay, Bitul Hayesh could come through many different ways. Okay, people having horrible hardships in lives is Bitul Hayesh. Okay, now you choose where your battle is going to take place. Is it going to be from outside with unwanted things happening in your lives? Or it's going to be battle inside? You understand? That's where we have freedom of choice. It's not chas v'shalom to scare anybody. Okay? It's from the Rebbe's Torah. We see that all the time. It says, it's like either the person takes on the internal effort, the internal avodah, the internal struggle, okay, in changing person's perception, in expanding person's cognition, in opening our own heart to accept certain things. Okay, that's an internal work. So then we are spared of external disturbances. Okay, and that's like Shlomo HaMelech, remember? Shlomo HaMelech was able to bring peace into the Jewish kingdom, okay, through his wisdom. He did all the battles inside, and it's reflected in the kingdom. Okay, that's it. That was his avodah. Okay, now we could choose different avodah, meaning like Hashem is not pushing us, like, oh, you must do this. No, we choose. And I personally choose rather this. I don't want to go through suffering in my life where I'm going to be having bitul hayesh from unwanted, things in my life. I said, no, it's okay. I'll do my isbonus. I'm fine with that. That's just my personal choice. It's okay. Yeah. I see Batya wants to say something.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so sorry you're all more learned in this material. And as far as like the translation of some of the words, I think the concepts are familiar to me through studying them in other places. But as far as some of the words, for example, yesh, I'm so sorry. I was asking earlier if someone could define that for me, because is that sort of like a manifestation in a way, or?
Yes, yesh is, I guess, in a very concrete way, reflects an ego, right? Anything that is created being has its own ego, right? Ego not necessarily reflects in, this emotional, like, whoa, I'm, this somebody, but anything that is being created has a form, has a certain properties, right? There's a form, function, whatever else is going on. Okay, so that's that means it's yesh. It has a matzias, right? It's something, whatever that may be, right? A dog has a matzias. That's yesh. Can the dog do bitul yesh? I don't think he knows how to do it. It's not meant to do it, right? Can my cup do bitul yesh? No, it's created being. That's it.
I think it's also important what Rabbi Hillel said in chapter 1, that yesh is relative. So bina is a yesh relative to chokhmah, but chokhmah is a yesh relative to that which is above chokhmah. So there are different levels of yeshes. And that's also something that, comes into play here. But we see throughout Shari that you understand that the world of Bia has a different level of yesh than Atzilus, which barely has a yesh. Okay, I think we should move on, Mila. Let's try and do paragraph 25.
Yeah, I'm sorry about my background noises. Baruch Hashem, we have school happening. Okay, paragraph 25. It's actually a short paragraph. It's not a complicated paragraph. You see, with Reb Hillel, you'll see like he'll just put something like a bombshell, and you're like, and then he's like, I'm easy now. It's okay now. Take the breath. Now he's going to give us a little bit easier paragraphs. What do I mean easier paragraph? More concrete. Remember, we like to work with concrete objects. And then he's going to say, okay, we're going to do like a little bit more concrete. After the more concrete work, and then we're gonna think like, oh, we understand, and then boom, right? You'll notice this pattern. You've done this long enough for us to understand and not to be misspelled. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen now. I will make it a little bigger. Okay. V'hine kol zeh hu lehavin klalus hayichud de'or en sof de'amen simin, right? And now, what are we discussing? He brings it up. And now all this is in order to understand the general unity of Or and Sof within the heathen worlds. Because remember, we learned that Atzilus, in general, it's Amin Sisimin, right? It's a hidden worlds. And Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, the Amin Idgalin. These are the revealed worlds. Okay? Now, all what we discussed, so it's in order for us to understand this. Shehu pirte madreges sheba atzilus anikra mamalekol almin simin. So now, all this refers to all particular levels within the atzilus, which is mamale, right? Atzilus refers to the mamale. Okay, almin sisimins, right? This is filling, in a way, it's a light which is called filling of all the Almin Simin, right? The concealed world. Okay? Now, the hispashtus is bia, and it's hispashtus. Okay, in the bia, Nikra Mamalikol Almin Da'id Galin. It's called the Mamalikol Almin, which is the revealed. Okay, now, the key word here, you see here? When he's talking about Atzilus, he says Shehu, that is. Okay, and over here, when he's talking about the Bia, he's talking about these pashtas. You see, even in the wording, he's very careful not to confuse us. He says, this is in Atzilus, it's because it's Halam Begillah, it's a revelation. And here, it's his pashtas. Okay, and although one may understand this concept, right, and the quality, right, understand the unity within the emanated beings in the manner of concealment and revelation through many mashalim. Right, so that this idea is becoming more close to him, understanding through different mashal. But nevertheless, this is still orach. Meaning, when I'm learning different mashalim, can you still hear me, even though there's a background noise? Yeah, okay, good, great. And even al yidei zeh, right? They are called, but this is more orach.
I don't know what happened, but I can't hear you properly anymore.
It's a length of the conversation. Cannot hear me properly, Miriam? Okay, anyway, so they're just going upstairs now in a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay, this is called the Orech of the Hasaga, right? Why it's Orech? Because remember, what's Orech? Orech is Mashalim. Okay, the Rebbe, Mashpia, gives us all kinds of different Mashalim. For what? That's his Orech. And it meets my Orech. This is chapter 1, right? So now we are together. 2 Orech mates. And now we start the work. The work is, number 1, is just to get acquainted. Oh, there's this mashal, there's that mashal. In this mashal, that's how it works. In the other mashal, that's how the other thing works. But the goal of looking through the mashalim is to bring it closer to our brain. Okay? But it is not like that when we start going deeper into the mashalim. When we go deeper, in order to understand the differences between mashal and the next. Okay, so we're not just getting closer to these ideas. We're actually working in order for us to get a deeper understanding why we need 5 mashalim about Helen Gilui. Why we need that. Maybe one mashal is enough. It's true. One mashal is enough to understand the general idea in order for us to bichlal, start understanding. But when we are talking about already details, remember, rochav is about details. Okay? So when we start comparing and contrasting between the two mashalim, that we need a little bit bigger space in our thinking, right? Bigger space in our thinking, keeping all the mashalim aligned. We need what? Rochav. Okay? Okay. שבכל אחד ואחד יש פרט אחד שאינו דומה לחברו. That in every single one of this mashalim, there is one detail that is not similar to the other one, right? The other one is lacking that detail. Okay, hagam sheklalusam hu shove. Even though in general they're very equal, but there are some particular details in these mashalim that really stick out. Okay, and that's where we want to concentrate. Once we concentrate in the prat, we need more space in our brain for that. Okay, be'inyan zeh shehem rag bechinas gilu helem, right? And these they are not equal. Chakot mushabe, but prat zeh, okay, this particular prat is not equal by all of them. Okay, in the idea of gilu helem. Okay. Umevin mizelemala, right? And all of this understand above, meaning in the nimshal, which is what? The inyan Yehuda Yisbarach, right? In the idea of unity of Hashem, blessed be He, in the aspect of emanated beings. Kol pirti of fanim hayichud, all different types of the yichud that they have. B'chol pirtei hamadregas, in all the details of particular levels. Sheyesh b'netzalim, zeu nikra rochav. Okay, in all the emanated beings, and this is called rochav. This is what rochav is about. It's about details. Why this? Why that? Etc. Etc. Shemiz dead dafka. That specifically through this particular study in the details, okay? We come into Omekabina. Okay, Shehu Bechinas Tamtit Hamusak, Lahavin Klolus Hamemale. Right? Because this is Tamtit Hamusak. What is Tamtit Hamusak? To understand the general idea of Memale Kolal. What is Tamtit Hamusak? Tamtit is a tea essence. Okay. It's like you make a very, very strong tea, right? In olden days, they used to make like a very, very strong tea that's actually bitter to the taste. But then you put a little bit in a cup, a little bit in a cup, a little bit in a cup, and all of a sudden it becomes nice, beautiful, gorgeous tea. Okay, meaning you could water it down. Okay, so then you enjoy it. You don't really enjoy drinking a bitter tea from tea essence. People actually have that type of situation. They drink tea essence and then they get high. You heard about this before? Okay, that's basically what happens. Okay, but ordinary people, it's very hard for them to drink this type of things. Okay, we usually enjoy when we dilute it, but that's what Tamtzit HaMusak, right? It's a concentration of the point where all the water is out. Okay, you distill all the water and you're working with a concentrate. Okay, with a very, very concentrated thing. Okay, meaning the whole concept concentrates in one point. From this afterwards, you come into the orech, or rochav, of the chokhmah. Now you go even higher. Like now you're going into the orach and rochav of the chokhmah. B'pkinas oimek ha-chokhmah, and you reach even oimek ha-chokhmah, and yikra umka de kula, right? Which is called the depth of everything. Okay, not only that particular concept, but you're able to reach of the depth of everything. How come? Because we already by koach hamaskil, right? And koach hamaskil has access to everything. Everything is there. Shuhu omeg re'iyas haseichel, which is the depth of seeing, intellectual vision, right? Bahasagazu, in this hasaga, the mamalikol almi, shelamala me'hasagas haseichel, which is higher than the comprehension of the seichel. Okay, and that's exactly what we just discussed. Okay, omek hamusag, it's how your seichel understands this concept. Okay, it's like you've worked so hard, you put all the pieces together, and now you have a picture. You're like, whoa, oh, that's what it means. Amazing. But that's your brain. Okay, and like anything, the brain has limitation because the brain is a created being. Okay, so this is the answer for all the people who don't want to be intellectual. Amazing. Reach this point, and then you'll transcend your intellect. Okay, it's like you need to utilize everything what Hashem gave us, including our brain, okay, to reach this point. Okay, this is the breaking point. From the Omek HaMusag, you all of a sudden open up into the Orach of the Chachma, you climb all the way. Now you are by Omek of the Chachma, right? And this is Omek of everything. Okay, why is it? Because all concepts ultimately stream into one space, right? Which is what? And this is, he says, okay, this is Riyas HaSeichel, right? This is the inner vision, intellectual vision. And this hasaga of Malikul Almin, Shelemala min hasagas of the Seichel. This is above the ordinary intellectual grasp. No, this is above the person's capacity to grasp. And that's exactly where you want to get, right? You want to transcend your own intellect. The Omek Hariyah, and this is the depth of seeing, Hanyikra Omek HaMachshava. This is the depth of the Machshava. Okay, I'm sorry, the Omek of the Chochma, Mi'ayin Timatze. What's ayin compared to the Chochma? It's your Koch HaMaskil, right? It's from ayin you will find it. So, meaning a person needs to do what he is capable of doing, right? Meaning working hard, putting his brain together, focus, everything else what he needs in order to push himself to get into this space. But then that's already Shar Nun of Bina, right? This is Omek HaMusag. That's the maximum what we can reach as a human beings. But then there's Ayin. And what Ayin has? Ayin has probably the properties of vacuum, right? What's a vacuum? It just sucks you in, okay? It sucks you in into something greater, okay? And that's where, the whole paradigm shift takes place. And that's amazing. Yeah, that's what we want. We want the paradigm shift. The shift is here. But you have to work so hard, right? To get to that shift. And that's just what, how Hashem created, right? People call it, I guess in sports, you could call it the endorphin release, right? Everybody's looking forward for that. You run, you work out, blah, blah, blah. I remember that point when I used to do gymnastics. You work, and then boom. Okay. Can you get endorphin just like that? Probably. We didn't have cell phones in olden days. So in order for us to get that level of high is really need to run a lot. And then and then at the peak of you giving up, that's where the endorphin releases. Do you see the point? Is when you're ready, like this is it, I'm done. Amazing. That's exactly when endorphin kicks in. Okay. And to get to that point, hard work, labor, sweat. Okay. And that's what it is. And that's where, you're being pushed. And the same thing is with the inner work, with the work of your brain, is that you learn to the point that your brain falls out. Okay, so brain says, okay, this is it. I'm over. You start yawning, and you start rolling your eyes. You read, and then you lose where you read. You know what I'm talking about? When your conscious brain blur, that's it. I cannot do this anymore. Amazing. That's a great place to be. Okay, you're great that place to be. And all of a sudden, you wake up in the morning, you start understanding things in a much different way. It does something to your brain. It opens up a certain limitations. You know, you're like, wow, I've not seen it anywhere before. Okay. Okay, so this is my Mashiach. Okay, right? And regarding this, it says, and you shall know today. Right? We say it every day in Aleinu L'Shabeach. Oh, da'et Elokei Avicha. You should know the God of your father. Moshe Yisbar, as it will be explained. I love this, right? In chapter 47. It will be explained later. Okay? I don't know what chapter it is. I'm just saying it. Right. Okay. Bir Hatfur. Meaning, this is the mitzvah of knowing God. You understand what he's saying? It's like, there's a mitzvah to know God. Hashem wants you to work hard. This is what he wants from you. Okay? Just like, be persistent, push, run your marathon. You'll get your endorphin. Obir Hadvarim. I guess that's some kind of neurotransmitters, no, Maria? What Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about? There got to be some neurotransmitters that are being flooded in our brain after an intense mental workout. No?
Well, mainly neuroscience talks about building the networks in your brain that comes through repetition. That's the Iyun and that's the Yigir, that you build new pathways. And if you don't repeat it, then the pathways, what's it called? They break.
Okay, guys, we had to take our scans before doing this work. It's not good.
Yeah.
We had to take our scans before and after. Then we're going to be part of the study, you know? And then you probably will see just like one line for me, right? And then you have this whole situation.
But
It was funny.
yeah, look, it happens with everything. And if you really know something well, I mean, certainly like chapter 1, somebody should be able to wake us up at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask us questions from chapter 1, and you just know them. I'm talking about just the information even, you know, but without the information, without those, you know, those neurons in your brain being formed, you can't put roots down into tfuna, you know, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is what he's teaching us, is the mechanics of it, which neuroscience is only really understanding now, hundreds of years later.
And you know what? I'm thinking to myself, I mean, what a privilege it is. Because this type of work, like, I don't know, even like 100 years ago, I mean, we are women sitting here learning the deepest part. You understand what I mean? Like, who studied this? You understand? The access for this knowledge was closed. Only special men who went through the whole purification after the age of 40, you know, and they would have access to all these stuff. It's like, whoa. I just feel like, you know, I don't know, like probably, you know, one of those biggest couples out there, you know, studying this type of thing. No, you don't feel like, I don't know. It's just like you study all this and I don't know. I remember once I was looking through a very interesting, I think it was Shara Yichud with Rashi letters. I was, you know, so immersed in the subway trying to read and translate. There was nothing more than that, you know, but I remember like my brain was just like captured at these words. And I don't know, maybe because I was so intensely immersed into this, there's a guy who was standing right behind me and he's like, yeah. And you want to tell me that you understand what's in this? He just like probably was looking, what language is this lady is reading? I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this poor guy, you know, was thinking, who is this? What's going on here? Now, I guess it's true, you know, it's not, how should I say? It's not.
Mila, you're sharing something else.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking off the, what's it called? Somebody's calling me on Google So it's just going to continue for a while. Yeah. Anyway,
right.
so this is it. So let's go. Biur hadvarim, right? And the explanation of the matter is as follows. Al derech hamuvor lemala, as it was explained above, sheyesh bebchinas etzem v'hispashtus dalit mashalim pratim. Remember when we're discussing the paradigm about etzem v'hispashtus, there were 4 mashalim. Yeah, who remembers them? Let's see. Light of the sun, light of the candle, right? The life force in the body, right? And koach hatnua, right? The movement, the power of the movement. Now, guess what? And 2, regarding the level of Helam Begilui, there are 5 mashalim. Just in case you felt like, oh, only 4 mashalim, I'm going to say 5. Okay? Now, today we're just going to go over them. Okay, we're not going to go inside of each mashal. We're just going to name them, names. Okay? And you right away will see what you're getting yourself into. 1, right? Mashal number 1 is the life force of the soul within the body. Okay? Okay, we know this more or less. Remember? We studied it. It's not totally new. Mashal.
But how can it be a mashal for Helam Begilu if it was a mashal, the mashal?
You'll see. You'll see. You'll see. Yeah, you'll see. And I'm going to stick into this another mashal, meaning they are together, meaning they're in the same category, which is b'bchinas gilui hatnua b'bchinas achai, which is another metaphor, right? Revelation of the movement within the living being. Meaning, remember the last 2 mashalim that we studied? He's sticking it all into one mashal. Okay, he says they go together in a category, and we're going to see now how these same mashalim that we're discussing, etzem v'hispashtos, can actually be a very good mashal for Helam Begilui. We'll see how it is. The second one, that's a new one. It's actually beautiful, right? The second one is from the power of vision in the eye. You'll find out new things. I don't think it's written in any science books. I'm telling you. Like, they have to study this. Anybody who have scientists? There could be Nobel Prize winners. Okay, Gimel. The third one is the Bechinas Or HaSeichel HaMeir B'Yitchakmus. Okay. Davar Mikoach Etzem HaSeichel. Wow. The third one is from the light of the intellect that shines forth when one grasps the concept, coming from the essential power of intellect, which is Etzem HaSeichel, which is what? Koach HaMaskim. Right? That's the essence of the seichel. That's the third mashal. Interesting, right? I'm already salivating. That's for my voice. Like, yeah, I'm going to be learning this. Dalet, the fourth one. Hu b'chinas or hanitzutz hayetze min hatzur. That's actually a very interesting one, right? The fourth one is from the light of the spark that comes out of the flintstone. Okay, al yedei haka, through striking it. And inside of it, we're going to stick in another mashal. Guess which one? Another matter, there's a flame that is found within the burning coal, right? So it's 2. One is from the stone, the one is from the gechelet, and it pretty much talks about the same thing. So that's why he's adding them into that category, Dalet. And the hey one, who gilui hamachshava shebehelem, kasher ba begilui hadibur. Right? And the fifth one is the revelation of the hidden thoughts when it comes into revelation of the speech. So, okay, so you're going to be ophthalmologist and you're going to be speech therapist. Okay, after this chapter, you have your opinion. Okay. Okay, umiklalus kolam ashalim, and from the totality of this general metaphors, kasher yamig bahem, when one delves deeply into them, lahavin hadugma lemala, in order to deeply understand them, right? Yabul omek hasaga, you will come into the omek of the hasaga. Okay, Shel memale ba'al min sisimin, right? You'll understand the whole concept of the memale in the hidden worlds. Until you will come into the depth of the vision, as it will be explained. Understand this well. Okay, so see, Neria is yawning now. It's your turn.
Do that.
Yeah, okay.
So
So that's it.
Is he saying in a way that, oh, now Mila, I've passed it to you. He's saying that up until now, what we've learned about Helen Vigiloi is really the Orach. Like he was just bringing it close to our mind, like the general concepts, even though they were mashalim. But now with these mashalim, we're going to go into the Rochav.
He never told us about his mashalim. This is the first time he's revealing his cards about this by mashalim.
No, we
Well,
have
actually 7 mashalim.
yeah,
No,
but
we did. I mean, yeah, you could say that, meaning the etzem v'spashtos.
yeah, you know, comparing it to the suns and the ray of the sun, and he was using an, you know, mashalim on a kind of general level, not like this level, but
No, we did already. We did etzem v'spashtos very nicely. I think it was enough for us to understand that idea.
No, I'm saying everything that we've learned about Helen Vigiloi now in paragraph 20, was it 22, 23, 24, is he suggesting that that was really like on the level of Orach?
Yeah, but not even that. He's like, that wasn't even arach. That was just bichlal, whatever that was.
Okay.
You know, it's he says now it's gonna be, we're gonna compare the mashalim. Within the comparison, we're gonna go into 2 stages. One is just to make us acquainted with this, and that's gonna be orech. But then when we're gonna really zoom in between all the pratim and right? We're gonna be like, oh, because you see, when we are studying each of the mashalim, we're gonna be like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's Helen Megillah. Like, it's enough for me to understand how my eyes see. That's it. Helen Megillah, no? I mean, that's out of all of them. That's the simplest one, right? What's Helen Megillah? Like, here we go. I don't see, I see. I don't see, I see. That's it. We understand Helen Megillah. Why we need 7 more mashalim? I mean, 6 more mashalim. Like, oh, give us a break. Oh, that's on the level of orech. You don't understand because it's understood, right, for you? No. Let's go back. Each one is going to give us a whole detail and how you see and why you see, and this one and the flintstone and the coal and the nefesh and all that, right? And then you're going to see, like, we're going to remember how we did by the other mashalim? We put them together. What's each mashal actually going to give us, compare and contrast, right? That's going to be a deep analysis, okay? And then we're like, oh, now we understand. Now we're growing that big picture, okay? And we're going to obviously answer the questions of the philosophers. So maybe philosophers don't even stick their nose there because they're like, okay, it's enough. Okay. And that's it. And then we were like, oh, that's what it means. It was easy schmeezy.
Miriam, you want to say something?
I'm just very excited to be going deeper. It's like this journey. I'm very, absolutely, very excited.
Well, see, Yichud Eilah and Atzilus and the Matzil, it's all very abstract. It's not Latvia, which we know very well. So now that he's giving us Mashalim, it gives us a way to grasp the ungraspable in a way. That's, I think, what's also exciting about it, is that it's not just abstract concepts that he's teaching us. We're going to be able to feel it in a different way and understand it through Mashalim, which we are familiar with. Okay.
And what you said, it's something beautiful. You said, bearing in mind Hashem gets pleasure from our efforts, hopefully as well as to you know, to be a giver of pleasure of Hashem. By the way, it's 100%, you know, Hashem has this thing, I want you to know me. Whoa, whoa, you know, that's all what he wants. You know, and then you're like, that's all what you want. I mean, you created gazillion levels, okay? And it's like, seriously, like it wasn't just like, okay, the world. It's like in this, and we're learning it, right? We're unpacking it. We're like unwrapping how we created the world, and then, but ultimately, you know, in any relationship, right? We want to be known. Like imagine living with your husband and he doesn't even know what kind of jewelry you like. Like, yeah, it's like, And we as women, that's a feminine side of Hashem, okay? And we can relate to that, right? I mean, you don't even know what I like, you know, like, whoa, that's like, you know, I would say the famous strategy when woman wants to have a fight, right? It's like, this is it, right? You don't even know, right? But what is it? So just like look into yourself, like, what is that, you know, that you want to be known? That's what Hashem wants. It's very easy for us to relate, right? And I think that's why women never have issues with Hashem throughout the whole generation. I mean, when women had issues with Hashem, never. It's only men who the one who mess up with, right? They do this, they do the other one, golden calf, and all that stuff. So why is it? Because for us, it's very easy to relate to the Malchus of Hashem, to the essence of Hashem, because we understand. Oh yeah, I relate to that, you know. And I don't know, like ask your husbands, what does this mean to be known? They have no clue. They just need to know what they like to eat. I just need to match the food, you know, exactly how they like to eat. Beyond that, that's it. You conquered the heart. Now, it's the women are these complicated, the details, the colors, the smell, the shapes. You understand? A man is happy just to live in a clean house. It's the woman, oh, we like, you know, this plant and this type of curtains make you feel this way. And that's why we relate to 613 mitzvahs. Yeah, for sure. Right? You know, this famous manual, like this famous caricature is like, you know, a manual to understand the man is like one page, and a manual to understand the woman is like a book thick like this. Why is it? I mean, it's people making jokes out of it, but it's true. We understand the complexity of feeling at home. What does this mean? I don't know, man, it's very simple. You have, first of all, it has to be a kitchen, food on the table, right? And nobody's disturbing him, and a nice, comfortable couch and a room that nobody disturbs him. That's it. That's a man calls a house. Okay. Now, for a woman, it's a whole complicated issue, right? It's this and it's the color. It's who is the neighbor, and you know, you go outside, you feel like this, you feel like that. So we understand that. So now we understand Hashem. That's it. It's not so simple. It's like it has to be a whole situation. And when you learn, you know, the halachis of the Beis Hamikdash, your brain falls out also, right? Who studied it? And the karbanes and the details and the kavanes of everybody and how they need to do things and the avodah. And it's like, I guess that's why we study it in Yom Kippur, right? We study the whole avodah of Yom Kippur in the, you know, in the afternoon when your brain already doesn't work, because that's the only way how you can go through it. You know, all the details of it. It's fascinating. So, but you know, that's you know, we're dealing with it. So for us to understand that Hashem wants to be known through pneumius of the Ratzon, the inner, you know, I guess as women we have no problem with that. And Hashem definitely derives an amazing, a lot of pleasure from, like, he's like, yes, guys, you're doing it. There's 7 women. 7 women are doing it.
Look, what he's also added in paragraph 24, and he's speaking about it now as well in 25, is the idea of seeing. I like to say another way of saying known is also the way we say, I want to be seen. I'm just making it a psychological, you know, correspondence. If you think back to a time in your life, like a memory where you felt seen by somebody, or you felt seen just when nobody was there, but it was just you when you're in flow, when you connected to your something essential in you. There's a feeling of being seen. I think so. He talks about his taklut and re'iyah being that we're moving into those areas of being known, being seen. Just something to add to the mix. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you.
Fascinating. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Okay.
week.